Welcome to the Prospect Warehouse podcast. I did not even know that John changed the song until right there. He changed it back to one of those punk rock songs, I guess, because Doc was talking crap about the rap, which I love the rap, man.
I love
So
the rap. What
yeah,
happened to democracy over here? This is
I know,
like
right?
turning into like a Doc dictatorship.
I think this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna tell John that we're doing rap when it's Owen and Tim time. We'll do the rap for us. If Doc wants the rock song, then he can take his punk rock song. But we're doing the rap for sure.
Well,
So next time that
Tim,
you hear us together, it's gonna be we're gonna have some beats. We're gonna be able to vibe getting into the podcast.
I think Tim, you just got to flex like your role. Like you are the director of podcast, right? Like you should be saying like if I'm hosting any podcast, we are having the rap.
Oh, for sure. John will just
Yeah.
listen to me. And like I don't even have to I don't have to fight him on it. I just was not aware that he changed the song. So that's just
I know.
a lack of awareness on my part, or maybe a lack of production effort on my part, because while I did get my pages set up here, I did get my tabs set up to produce the show, but I did not even look at the song. I just pressed play. So that's on me.
Yeah.
But anyway, you got me here on the X at Fantasy Ace Ball. And then, of course, you've got Owen Hurd at Owen_FBB. So make sure you follow both of us if you're not following, and subscribe to the show too. Subscriptions help. Subscribe on YouTube because we're a video version. And you can also subscribe to the podcast version. So we're like all over the place. We're on the MLB Data Warehouse feed. We're on my old feed, which gets a lot of views still. So that's why we haven't changed that yet. And then we've got my YouTube feed. And then we also have John's YouTube feed. So we're literally on like 4 different feeds here on this show. And so it's interesting. If you put it all together, we actually do get a lot of views, a lot of watches. It's just like we're kind of spread all over the place. So maybe someday if we actually try to make money on advertising, we will consolidate, and then you'll have to deal with that. But we're trying to be everywhere, so to make things easy for the listener at this point in time. And what we're going to talk about in this podcast, Owen, we're going to be talking about starting pitching, and we're going to be going in groups of 5. I did starting pitcher 60 through 31 with John, and John's not a prospect guy, so it was mostly just him listening and producing and adding context to the guys who have debuted in the MLB. But we're going to be going deep here on some names that John would have no clue who these guys are. And our first tier here is 30 through 26. And some of these guys have actually moved up since. So 30, Michael Ferret. 29 is Rhett Lauder. 28, Cam Caminiti. 27, Hagen Smith. And Rhett Lauder's having a nice camp. So I'd probably have him ahead of Hagen Smith right now. And then 26, Owen Murphy, who has actually worked his way to the top 25 for me now. If you are interested, if you're a subscriber, I do have an article up that I just finished last night on MLB Data Warehouse with my updated top 25, because the rankings that we're looking at right now are based off of my top 150 prospect rankings I did. So a couple of these guys have moved since then, maybe due to spring or injuries or what have you. But the guy that we're going to focus on right now is a guy that we both wanted to talk about. It's funny because we're like, okay, we're going to pick one, and we both picked the same guy. It's Michael Ferret with the Tampa Bay Rays now. Can't believe they traded him. Like, I don't know. I guess they had to make the trade happen because I'm a big fan. I'm going to get his numbers up right here. But Ferret has a ton of pitches. I dig this dude a lot. He's a kind of like I guess a baseball nerd for a pitcher, as you would call someone who hasn't made money yet, and they spend all their off seasons going to Driveline and like developing new pitches. But you can see the fScores really love him. 116 stuff, 117 control, 114 FERA, and 274 JA ERA. So that's minor league Sierra through 2024 and 2025. So that's over the last 2 seasons, and a 21.2 K minus walk rate over the last 2 seasons. So Ferret has, I want to say 7 pitches. Let me count them real quick here. 6. I got 6 pitches. We got a fastball. We've got a sinker. We've got a sweeper. No, sorry, a fastball splitter. Fastball, sinker, sweeper, death ball, changeup, and a kick change. So 2 changeups for Mr. Ferret. This guy just develops tons of pitches, and he's kind of like an artist as a pitcher. Like, he's not going to win on high velocity, but he's going to win because he's got a killer pitch mix and he knows how to use it. Really smart pitcher. So I'm a big fan, especially now he's going to the Rays. So the Rays have had way more success developing pitchers than the Orioles. So I kind of like the move for him going over to the Rays. What do you have on Michael Ferret, Owen, since you're a fan of that?
I agree with a lot of what you said. I love the fit with the Rays. I think it reminds me a little bit too of what they had in Joe Ryan a few years back. Is just this kind of pitchability guy with maybe kind of a high probability number three with some upside. And it's interesting because I don't really find myself liking a lot of pitchers with Ferret's mold. I kind of like more overpowering fastball. But I just I can't find myself to dislike a guy with like 6 pitches, none worse than a 50, a couple plus secondaries in there, a fastball that's ticked up in velo, and pair that with really good control. And I think there's a floor of a number 4, and I think there's some sneaky upside with Michael Ferret.
Yeah, I love the sweeper and the kick change too. That's pretty sick pitch that he developed. He's got good command. So I think that with this type of pitcher, they're the type that transitions up levels pretty nicely. Like he might not have ace upside, but I think he has like definitely like number 3 starter kind of like written all over him with the stuff that he has. And with good command and with his pitch mix, he should be able to actually like make it to the majors, which is pretty important because some of these guys might actually not, or they might be like a reliever. Maybe they just have really good stuff, and then they're just a reliever at the end of the day and not a starter.
Yeah, and I think when you look at like Ferret too, and just like how good he was last year, like his K to his K K per nine and walks per nine were like very much in line with Jonah Tong. Like opposing hitters hit like under 170 against him. Like I get that he hasn't seen too much in the upper minors yet, but I just think this is still a super underrated guy who's probably going to slot in the back end of my top 100. And I think there's still a pretty big buying opportunity there, as a lot of people won't have him valued as that.
Yeah, I've got him at 88 overall, so I'm right there with you. And I think I got him in our 30 team league that we're in together. Yes, I do. How about that? So that team sucked when I got it. I just had to try to get as many prospects as I could as soon as I could. So I traded basically everything for tons of picks for this draft. So I was all in on the 2026 draft just because I had no farm. And that
I'm doing that. I'm doing that right now with like one that I'm in with Doc. It's like a kind of 50 man, and I have like some promising young pieces. I've got like Nick Kurtz, Tovar, Jacob Wilson. And then essentially it was just selling off like anybody above the age of 25. So I traded Dylan Cease and Burns, and I got Seth Hernandez, Bryce Rayner, Dante Nori in a second and 27. Not sure how I feel about that, but I got like Kate Anderson and Kendrick Chorio with my top 2 in this draft. So it's just like full on rebuild, stash the prospects and see what happens.
Yeah, that's where you are sometimes, especially when you take those orphan teams. So getting in the top 25 here, number 25 is Daniel Egan. That's Doc's heartthrob right there. And it's funny enough, Owen, in the MLB Data Warehouse League, it's a 30-team league. We did our introductory draft and prospect draft. I traded in front of Doc for a pick, and I was like, Egan's the best pitcher on the board. If you want your man here, you're going to have to trade with me right now and get him. And then he's like, I do not negotiate. He literally texted me back. He's like, I remember negotiate with terrorists.
I remember that.
So, okay, so right here we got Daniel Egan 25, Tyler Bremner 24, Travis Sikora 23, Luis Perales 22, who actually moved down on my top 25. After the Red Sox traded him to the Nationals, I just got really scared. So since that has happened, I've actually bumped him out of my top 25 here. And then Gage Jump is 21. So that's what we're looking at here. Sikora is the guy that I've moved up. So I'm just going to give you a quick glimpse of where I got him now. I bumped him up to, I think, 18. Yeah, I've got him at 18 overall now. So I've actually bumped him up since I've done this rankings. Obviously, with an injured guy, the closer you get to him coming back, the more you're going to probably keep bumping him up. So, it's a little closer now to the Travis Sikora return. Travis Sikora is just a ridiculous player. I'm going to throw his fScores up here. Let's throw him up. And we have a 140 F stuff. That is the best stuff of any pitcher by far. The second best stuff of anyone, Owen, is Chase Burns and Harlan Susana tied out 27. So that's 13% better stuff for Sikora than the second best tied guys have, which is just insane. I mean, obviously, too, he was like pitching probably at levels he shouldn't have been pitching at. Like he was just lighting up like dudes in, lower levels earlier this year. So that's going to help like bump the fScores. But a 140 stuff is absolutely ridiculous. Fastball touches 100. Got a slider that, is probably a 60 grade pitch. I put a 55 out of 60 on it right now. I think that as long as he keeps adding velotics to that slider, it's going to keep upticking. And then the splitter is the big pitch with him. So fastball splitter is kind of like really what he's known for. I've got a 65 grade on the splitter, 44.4% whiff rate in the minors last year before he got hurt. So this dude is just ridiculous. 158 JA ERA. Crazy stuff. 31.3 K minus walk rate. Crazy stuff for Sakura. When he comes back, it's probably going to look like what Andrew Painter did, where he's going to start at A ball and kind of just work his way up the levels. Maybe he gets 2 starts at low A, 2 starts at high A, 2 starts at double A, whatever. He probably there's a chance he's back this year. Maybe he pitches in like August and September. I think he had his Tommy John in like July. So there's a chance. Usually the recovery for Tommy John is 12 to 14 months. So we'll see like where he's at in his recovery, if he actually gets some games in this year, or if he's just full bore, kind of like Musgrove was supposed to be right this year, like full bore going into next season. So we'll kind of see where he's at. But Sakura definitely like has top 5 pitching talent. It's just like, where is he at in the recovery process? You have anything to add on Sakura before we get to your dude?
Yeah, and we've talked a lot about just kind of like buying pitching prospects when they do hit Tommy John. Like Sakura's a guy that I found like buying a lot. I took him in Eric Cross's like toolshed mock, and I think like the 8th or 9th round. That was like 16 teams, so I got him there as probably close to. I think it's either just outside the top 100 or just inside. But he's a guy that I found buying a lot at price. I really like the stuff. I think there's a lot of ingredients there I like. And obviously with the developmental timeline slowed down a bit, there's some added risk there. But I do think, like you said, Painter, he could be a guy that, a lot of people, you have that kind of buying window on, and then he comes back and then kind of regains a lot of his stock to what it was pre-injury.
Yeah. So if you're watching on YouTube or Xvision, you can see a little bit of Sakura right now. Dude is huge. So 6'6", that's gonna help any pitcher here. But yeah, just a monster here. I just hope that the Nationals are able to actually like develop some of these guys between him and Susana and a lot of these other guys, because the last regime did not really develop the guys that they brought in. Like they had a rebuild chance. They had to completely restart their rebuild because they did such a bad job of it. So hopefully they can actually develop these guys, and it's not like a bunch of Mackenzie Gore 2.0 types or whatever that happens.
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually a lot more encouraged by this regime now. You mentioned kind of Paralis a little bit, moving him down with the Nats. I think it's worth noting that Taboni, who's now with the Nats, was one of the big guys on Paralis in the Red Sox system. I mean, I'm not the biggest Luis Paralis guy. I still kind of question whether he's a starter. He's just so small, but I love the stuff. But I think there's this new regime definitely has me encouraged, especially with a lot of the archetypes that they've targeted in drafts, like in the kind of Coy James and the Landon Harmons and the Miguel Cimes. I really loved their class from last year. And I think now kind of going over these kind of upside guys that we didn't really see as much from the last regime is a promising step in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so your guy that you're going to talk about here is Gage Jump, number 21 in this ranking. I actually bumped him down a couple spots. I know like he's close. He's got a lot. He's pretty close, but I don't necessarily know if the upside is there that I thought was originally there with him. But I'm going to kind of let you expand on Gage Jump here and your thoughts on Jump.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been a lot of buzz around him. He's not a guy that I would want to see make the A's out of camp right now. When he hit AA, the K per 9 and walks per 9 both took some steps in the wrong direction. He's not a guy I want to see in the PCL, but at the same time, I'm just not sure the stuff is kind of quite there to be a guy who can slot in as a number 3, number 4 in the majors right now. I do think the upside is maybe a low end 2, high end 3. I do think that's a bit on the conservative side. I mean, the velo, in my opinion, is really good for a lefty. Fastball up to 97 that in my opinion, is super deceptive. I think the secondaries, the curveball and slider, play off that really well. You could be looking at a guy who has 360 grade pitches, which from a lefty, in my opinion, that's a mix that I like. I'm not sure I see the number one that a lot of people have thrown out there, but I think I can see with a bit more development. I think I can see a good big league number two here, and also I think the control is really good too. I think that's a really underrated part of his profile too. Between a high end double A last year, just over 2.7 walks per nine. I'm excited to see jump. And I mean, the A's as a whole have just become a sneaky good org for pitching development. Between we've seen like him, Luis Morales has looked like a potentially interesting long-term part of that rotation. Jamie Arnold, we'll see how that goes. But I think there's been some interesting Wei and Lin, another one. There's some interesting arms in that organization that have kind of quietly turned them around from a, off the radar pitching development to, okay, maybe there's some interesting minds here and some interesting philosophies.
Yeah, and just because he's short, there's gonna be people who are like, "Oh, 6 foot. I don't know if I want to touch that." He did have 112
Yeah.
innings last year, so it's not like there's like, it's not like there's like durability concerns. 112 innings last year, 83 innings the year before at LSU. So this is not like a Gage Wood situation where the dude was like a reliever and is like
Yeah.
kind of jumping in. Jumping in. I did not do that on purpose, I swear. So anyway, Gage jump. I agree with you. Potential. Like I've got one above plus pitch. Like I give him a 65 out of 65 on the fastball. He can top out at 100 on that thing, even from the left side, which is pretty nifty. Slider, I give him a 55 out of 60. And then the curve, I've only got a 40 out of 50 grade on it right now. Changeup is below average for sure. Like that's not, unless he completely changes it, reworks it. Like I don't see that pitch becoming even an average pitch. But yeah, command, I threw a 50 out of 60 on the command. fScores, he's got a 105 stuff, 112 control. So the command is really kind of what sets him apart. Command and then the fastball. But it's just like the breakers, sometimes they're working, sometimes they're not. And that's kind of where he wins and where he loses. Like if he has bad starts, it's because he's not getting the breakers to work appropriately, because he did kind of like second half, he did wear down a little bit. But he has gotten to decent innings. So I'm not really too concerned about the size if people are concerned about that. But yeah, I am concerned about the stadium. Maybe they try to baby him a little bit because they don't want him to be pitching too long in that stadium. Try to get him to try to get him to Vegas. So they milk it until you can get him in Vegas, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think they baby him too much. I just think it's a matter of, they're kind of in a tough spot because, like, do you really want to expose an arm like that's the PCL? I wouldn't think so. But at the same time, like, the going from Double A Texas League, there's a lot of hitter friendly parks in that league, and then going to the A's stadium. I don't think there's a big. I think the home run problem that I've seen some people say he has is a little bit overstated. Like 7 and 112, almost 113 innings last year is nothing glaring at all. But I do kind of agree with you. I agree with you on the curveball. I think the grade is. I think your grade is a bit more conservative on it, but I can kind of see it being one of those pitches that just kind of sits around average, not quite at the level of the fastball or slider.
Yeah. Next group here, we have top 20 now. Number 20, Carlos Lagrange, whatever. Like this name is a guy that I think it's Lagrange. I've heard both. But whatever. So anyway, I bumped him up to number 17. So obviously like ridiculous velocity this spring. Showing like 102, 103 all spring, just pumping it. And this guy's issue is command. So like that's going to be the big issue with him. And then we've got 19 Jamie Arnold, 18 Logan Henderson, 17 Connolly Early, who I have bumped up. And this is the guy that I'm going to talk about. And 16 is Seth Hernandez, who's the guy that you're going to talk about. So Seth Hernandez, I still have at 16. And Early, I bumped all the way up to number, I think, 11 in my rankings. Yeah, I bumped Connolly Early up to number 11. So I'm really high on Connolly Early. I really was high going in on him last year. And I have like very little separation for some of these guys. Like between Early, I had him in my top 150 at like 58. And then the guy that I previously had at 11, I think was, who did I have previously at 11? It was Liam Doyle, and I had Liam Doyle, I think, at like 48. So like literally there's like 10 spots of total ranking between like 5 starting pitchers. So there's not as much separation between these guys as one might think in my overall rankings, just for consideration. If you're listening and you're like, that's a huge jump up. It's like, really, it's not. It's like you moved up like 10 spots in my rankings, which is like, it's 5 starting pitcher spots. That's just how it happens to be, because there's a pitching glob kind of probably for most people in like the 40 to 60 range of their rankings. I think there's like a nice glob of pitchers. That's where a lot of these like recent draftees and stuff are going to end up in a lot of people's rankings. So Connolly Early, you're a Red Sox fan. I'm really high on Connolly Early. I'm super excited about the added velocity. I love the arsenal for Early. And one thing that we have, because John has his own stuff plus, and the sweeper that Connolly Early developed is absolutely ridiculous. Like, he hasn't thrown it a lot. Let me pull it up here actually while we're talking about it. I have his video up, but let me get this up here so we can actually look at the data. Connolly Early. So we have his pitch level data right here. And in the minors, he only threw 6 of these bad boys. In the majors, he actually threw more of them. But you can see here 6 sweepers, 33.3% swing strike rate in the minors. So this is a relatively newer pitch that he was developing before he got called up. Fastball, changeup, slider, sinker, cutter, curve, sweeper. The changeup and the fastball were his primary pitches in the minors. And this is a lot of why I was not super high on him as a prospect. Owen, I was kind of like, he was like a top 150 guy until recently for me. Now he's like super high for me, like 50 or whatever. But his minor league stuff was not so great. But then in the majors, he had on that sweeper, he threw it 18 times, and that sweeper had a 55.6% swing strike rate in the majors over the 18 times he threw it, with a 105.7 JA stuff grade, which is really high. And the sinker also had a 106.8 JA stuff grade. And interestingly, every single one of his pitches, except for the changeup, was a 100 or above on the JA stuff at the major league level. And the changeup was 99.9. So that was like right there. So all these pitches are at least average out of the 6. And most of these are very well above average. So at the major league level, like that sweeper was ridiculous. The curve was ridiculous in the majors. Fastball played all right. So I'm a big Connolly Early guy. Fastball should play better with added velocity. So how do you feel as the Red Sox fan about him? Like, do you think he should break camp? Because to me, I wish he was breaking camp.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to be that guy, but I just can't quite get there as high as some have on Connolly Early. He's going to be like a back end top 100 guy for me. I just don't. I have a few concerns that keep him a lot lower for me. The first being maintaining the stuff beyond the first time through the order. I think that's a problem we've seen with a lot of Red Sox arms, previous Red Sox arms. That is Richard Fitz, Hunter Dobbins. List goes on. Some of the stuff really interests me. I really like how deceptive he is. The size is my second concern, like 6'3", 195. I kind of worry this is a guy who's going to struggle to give you anything more than kind of back end starters innings. And I just kind of struggle to see what the upside is. I think Early, if everything goes right, I think could be a solid big league number 3. I just don't. That's not particularly what I'm looking for in a guy that I'm looking at as a kind of borderline top 50 prospect.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. Like I was that way until I saw some of this like major league pitch level data. So thankfully at MLB Data Warehouse, I have these tools. Otherwise, I'd probably be in the same camp. But that sweeper that he's shown is like ridiculous, and I'm all in. I'm all in on him throwing that thing more, and then the add velocity. Like, how much muscle did apparently he build this offseason? Like 10 pounds of muscle or something is what they say.
Yeah, I was seeing something around that. I don't know if I don't think he breaks camp. Honestly, I'm like definitely more excited about Early than I was kind of, as you said, kind of last season, kind of coming up, seeing some of the minor league stuff. It's just, I just don't, and I'd love to be wrong, especially as a Red Sox fan. I just don't see a lot of the stuff gains have been interesting. The sweepers you mentioned is really interesting. I just don't really see, I mean, I don't really see the fastball being that, if anything, better than a kind of mid rotation guy at best. And that's just, I'll probably have him. I don't know. I'm kind of working through my ranks right now. aiming to have those out next weekend. I'll probably have them in like my top 80, top 85, something around that range. I struggle with those kind of floor and pitchability over kind of upside starters, especially when I have like kind of size concerns and maintaining the stuff through outings.
Yeah, I think he's probably a number 2 or number 3 starter. Like best case would be like a number 2. I don't think he has like the ace upside stuff. But like again, kind of like Ferret, he's just got a lot of pitches, right? Like I threw 55 out of 60 on his fastball, 50 out of 55 on the changeup, a 60 on the sinker, a 60 out of 70 on that sweeper. Like that sweeper could just be that could be a game changer for him. 55 on the curve, 40 on the slider. Good command. So and plus, he's a lefty. Remember, people have to remember that they had to change this stuff plus models this offseason for lefties because lefties stuff was playing up above. Like you couldn't just compare pitch from righty to lefty. Like the lefty stuff was playing up more, so they had to literally change stuff plus for lefties. So there is a boon to being a lefty, right? Number 16, Seth Hernandez. This is your dude. Obviously, we have no data on him because he has not debuted yet. But I am a huge Seth Hernandez guy. I'm looking forward to seeing him this year. I should see him plenty because he's going to be in Florida. Hopefully they don't skip A-ball. That would suck. But hopefully I should see him a lot this year. I did not, because by the time that Pittsburgh's minor league team, which is Bradenton, which is on the west side of Florida, came to the east side of Florida, Connor Griffin was already gone. So like I didn't even get to see Connor Griffin until the spring. But I did see Florentino last year. So hopefully I get to see some Seth Hernandez. Why don't you go ahead and start talking about him while I pull some video up?
Yeah, I mean, I love the upside and especially the polish for him being a prep arm. I really like the athleticism and the delivery and how well he repeats that. I think there's a lot more potential to pitch kind of deeper into games and he's shown more of a starter's workload than a lot of prep arms coming out. And I really think upside wise, like he's right there with, kind of a Hunter Green or maybe kind of a prep Chase Burns. Like I think there's two 70 grade offerings in the fastball and changeup. The control was really good. I think we realistically could be looking at a guy with, 3 to 4 with the lowest being kind of a 55 grade pitch once fully developed. And I don't really throw this out often. I think it's grossly overused, the term like ace upside amongst pitching prospects. I do think Seth Hernandez is one of the few that does have that. There's just a lot that I really like with this profile, especially from a prep guy. Definitely some inherent risk, as we've kind of talked about in the past. A lot of these guys probably will get TJ at one point. We've seen a lot of prep arms just kind of have a lot of inconsistencies early on. It's just, you see him hit pro ball. Noble Meyer being a big example of this. The stuff just isn't kind of what was advertised coming out of the draft. They get pushed down a little bit, but yeah, Seth Hernandez is one of my guys. I've taken him, and I think 4 or 5 FYPDs right now. He's my number 3 overall FYPD prospect, and I'll have him probably right up there, just outside my top 30 prospects. I don't have him far behind the Cade Andersons and some of that kind of elite tier 1 of pitching prospects.
Yeah, I had him at 57 overall in my last ranking. And like I said, I've got him at 16 right now for my prospects, but his stuff is pretty undeniable in my mind. I threw a 60 out of 70 on the fastball because you can touch up to 100 on it. Apparently on the back, fastball is sorry about that, internet. Supposedly fixed that on Friday, but yeah, right. I'm gonna have to talk to my guy. Anyway, this Seth Hernandez, as I had left off, he's got 2 fastballs. He's got a 4-seamer and a 2-seamer. He's got the changeup. He's got the slider, curveball. The fastballs and the changeup are probably plus pitches already, which is rare for a high schooler. So, I mean, if you can throw 100, you're almost definitely gonna have a plus fastball if you can hit 100. Slider curve have potential. So both those pitches are probably below average at this point, but he throws the slider 86 to 88 miles per hour. So if you throw a hard slider like that, then that pitch definitely has some upside potential as a plus pitch. And he has pretty solid command too for a big high school prep guy. So it'll be interesting to see once we get some like actual data on him, because I love that he's going to be in Florida and not in Arizona, because we're going to get pitch level data on him from the get once he's in A ball.
And I think we also have to account for too, like this is a guy that the prop that could put on 30 to 40 pounds between now and making his MLB debut. When you look at kind of the some of the ingredients that are already there, like there's above average control there, the potential for frontline stuff, and then you look at a guy who's probably going to add a couple ticks as he moves up. Like that's just I'm really excited about that, especially in a prep prospect. And you just see so many of these guys that are kind of like, okay, they have like maybe kind of 1+ pitch and then a couple 40 grade pitches. That's just not the case with Seth Hernandez. Like you could show me his grades as for, a kind of, one of the top college arms in the 27 class, like a Dax Whitney, maybe someone like that, like a Chris Livonis, maybe. And I would be like, you know what, this is you could show me the Hernandez's grades. And I'd be like, oh, this is just one of those guys. Like I think just where he's at right now is just a lot closer to where a lot of those kind of elite college arms are, which is just kind of absurd to think about from a prep arm.
Yeah. So next group here, we are entering 15 through 11. 15 is Ryan Sloan. I bumped Ryan Sloan up to number 10. So I bumped him up 5 spots. 14, Jackson Wiggins, who I actually bumped down. And that's going to be the guy that you want to highlight. So Jackson Wiggins, where did I bump him to, just for the listeners? Number 20. I bumped him down to 20 in my later rankings here. 13 is Harlan Susana, who I also bumped down due to the lat injury. It appears that he's not going to be back until midseason. He had to get lat surgery, so we're not going to see him until like June, July, something like that. And then Kyson Witherspoon at 12, Liam Doyle at 11. So we'll start off here with Jackson Wiggins, Owen, with your guy, since I bumped him down. Why don't you expand a little bit on Jackson Wiggins?
Yeah, I mean, I just like Jackson Wiggins kind of fits the kind of prototypical arm that I like, just really good fastball. Like I think there's a starter's mix in there with the slider and changeup. Would like to see either the changeup or curve take a little bit more of a step forward. I don't think each right now are like good third pitches, maybe viable third pitches, especially when you have a guy that the control was a little bit questionable. We saw him when he moved up to AAA last year. The walks per 9 jumped almost 2. Granted, the strikeouts per 9 did go up a little bit, but I do think that if he's going to be kind of a slightly below average control guy, I'd like to see one of those third pitches take a step up. But I really like Jackson Wiggins. I think the fastball is easily one of the best in the minors. And I think unlike someone like, if you look at like kind of, Peyton Tolley, not so much now, but if you look at him kind of coming up like last spring, starting off originally, like it was kind of a fastball. And then there wasn't really a kind of potential like plus second pitch there. I don't think that's the case with Jackson Wiggins. And I think it's like, even if he's kind of a, not great third pitch, like a 53rd pitch guy, like his fastball slider combo is just that good that it could make it work. I think the injury history gives me a little bit of pause, but he's just a guy that on pure upside, I wish I had a lot more shares of.
Yeah, his changeup is a criminally underrated pitch in my mind. So Wiggins reminds me of a young Max Scherzer. Like when Scherzer first came up, he had terrible command. I don't know if anyone remembers. Like everyone forgets that Scherzer debuted on the Diamondbacks. They just remember him as like a Tiger with Verlander is like their first memories of him. But when he was on the Diamondbacks, he was kind of rough. He was like a 4th starter, like really rough command. Like he didn't really break out until he got to the Tigers. And then obviously like his prime was with the Nationals. But Wiggins fastball hits 100 again. Like if you have 100-mile-per-hour fastball, you're almost definitely, if you can locate it at all, going to have at least a 60 grade pitch. I throw a 65 on it. The slider is a 50 out of 60 for me because the command on that slider is terrible. And the changeup, I actually gave him a better grade. I gave him a 55 out of 60 on the changeup. The changeup on the pitch level data that we have from AAA, which is 181 total pitches, so it's not a huge sample size, but in 17 changeups, that changeup had a 29.4 swinging strike rate, which is pretty ridiculous. And the fastball, 18.1% swinging strike rate. Like your average fastball swinging strike rate is probably like 11 or 12%. It's generally under your average swinging strike rates because it's a fastball. People are going to be looking for fastball. So an 18% swinging strike rate on a fastball is ridiculous. If you were watching when I had the fScores up, he had a 107 F control. That's a bit of a misnomer because the command is really good on the fastball and changeup. Like he throws the fastball and changeup for 50% strike rates, but his command on the breaking pitches is terrible. Like his command on the slider or gyro slider or whatever you want to call it, his command on that, he threw that, again, small sample size, only 39 pitches, but he threw that for a ball 59% of the time. That's terrible. Only 25.6% strike rate. The rest of the times he threw that, it was a ball in play. The curve, 77.8% ball rate. So his command, I am showing like a ad for a sink or something here. So his command was atrocious on the breakers. Only on the fastball and changeup was the command good. So that's why I moved him down. I was hoping that this spring we would see strides in that, but he actually looked pretty rough again, command-wise, this spring. So he has not made the improvements that I was hoping for. I've kind of was hoping that he was going to be like the Cade Horton route to the majors, where he's up in like late May, early June. Maybe that's still the case, but he definitely has to make strides forward in command. And the acquisition of Edward Cabrera could kind of damper that from happening.
Yeah, and I think if anything, that's more of a good thing. I do think he's a guy that, the earliest you would like to see him is maybe like in August or September this year. Let him work on the strike throwing a little bit. This is like probably one of my more unpopular prospect takes that I put out there, but I actually like Jackson Wiggins more than Jonah Tong. Nobody seems to agree with me on that, but maybe I'm just like a really high guy in Wiggins, but I think the fastball and I think the potential for at least the full depth of the pitch mix is better without the kind of uber violent delivery and undersized frame that you see from kind of Jonah Tong. So I actually like Wiggins more. I do think he's a guy that you would ideally like to slow play him a little bit, but I do think he's a guy that can still succeed as a starter if he's kind of if he walks guys at a kind of higher clip or isn't kind of living in the zone consistently just because of how good his stuff is.
Yep. So I mentioned that I moved up Ryan Sloan to number 10. So let's throw up some Ryan Sloan data here on the board.
I think you're still too low on Ryan Sloan at 10.
At 10?
Honestly, I do.
Really?
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
I'm trying to be high on him, and here you are throwing cold water all over that.
I mean, I'm sorry. I struggle to see 5 pitching prospects right now that are better than Ryan Sloan. That's where I'm at, quite honestly. Is like not even. I mean, granted, I had him. I think if I'm remembering correctly, I had him 37 end of season. So I've been extremely high on him before the spring trade. So this is not just a recency bias thing, but I think it kind of ends at Cade Anderson with the arms that you can kind of put over him. I think that's looking at McLean, Yasavage, Bubba Chandler, Thomas White, Robbie Snelling, Cade. So I think he's like I think at floor like a top 8 guy.
Yeah, you might be right on talent alone. A lot of times with pitchers, the way that I play pitchers, and like everyone's going to do it a little bit differently, but I think that proximity for pitching really matters.
Definitely.
I play proximity into pitching way more than I do for hitters. Like I have no problem having Edward Florentino in my top 10, right? But then when it comes to pitchers, I'm like, there's such a great risk of this guy getting hurt before they debut. And we talked about that a little bit on the Dynasty pod, that like I'll ding like your high school pitchers who are still in A-ball versus like a guy who is closer, right? So like I'm going to bump your Bubba Chandler, even though Chandler has like command issues and Tong has, his issues that he's got to figure out. I did move Tong down below. So even though like Tong will be in the next group that we talk about, I did move him below Sloan at this point in time. But like there's like obviously like proximity, like Andrew Painter. I think Sloan could be better than Painter, but I have Painter ranked ahead just because Painter's probably going to debut in the majors, right? Like Chandler's going to debut in the majors this year. Cade Anderson's going to make the majors this year. Tolley has already debuted. So these are all guys who are like, Snelling is going to debut, right? So like these are all guys who are like right there. And Sloan is definitely like my closest guy who is like far away. So
yeah, I think the proximity is fair. I think it's interesting when you kind of have a clash of kind of differing philosophies when it comes to ranking prospects. For me, it's like I look at the Jackson Jobs and the AJ Smith Shavers and all these guys that were kind of on the cusp of the majors, in the majors, got TJ. I don't think the risk, in my opinion, is really much less. That's why I don't really put a huge emphasis on it. I think more it's like especially when I'm doing prospect rankings, it's like I'm projecting for kind of what caliber big leaguer are they going to be in my eyes. So it's like if in the case of Seth Hernandez, for example, I will definitely have him higher than, I'm trying to think of like a kind of tier two, like kind of floor. Yeah, I'll go to Connolly early for this because I think he's a decent comp, even though like early is much closer and Hernandez is like 3 years away. I don't see I don't really see I don't really see a world presently where one, early stuff is better, and two, he's the better big leaguer than a 50th or percentile outcome for Hernandez.
Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, just interesting I can't wait to see our consensus rankings. Once John gets that board up with my rankings, your rankings, and Doc's rankings, that's going to be a nice tool to use on MLB Data Warehouse. So Ryan Sloan, going into the dude at 276 JAERA, which is minor league Sierra. I threw a 60 grade on his fastball, which he can get up to 99. And like point about like trying to avoid injuries. Like Ryan Sloan is 6'5", 220 pounds. Generally, bigger guys are going to hold up a little bit better. I mean, it's not always the case because Sikor just had to get Tommy John and he's a bigger dude. So that's not always the case. But like another part of that is how close to their max are they pitching. Like Sloan can throw 99, but he's generally more around like 95, 96. So he sits at a lower, like he's sitting a few miles below his max, which is actually probably better for his arm health. So I kind of like that. He's got a sweeper, he's got a gyro slider, and he's got a splitter. And the sweeper and the gyro slider, I throw 55, 60s on. And the splitter, I think you could get up to a 65. So I've got it as a 55, 65 pitch. Command, I've already got him at a 60 grade command from a high school guy, right? Like, and the funny thing is, this was my favorite pitcher coming out of that draft. And I was like, why did he fall to the second round? Like, I just liked him so much out of that draft. And like, look how well it's played out. Mariners are also developing pitchers to begin with.
I had a lot of people. I think this, like you mentioned, this is a great case of like why you look at the slot value and look at the money versus the draft position. I had a lot of people challenging having him ranked higher than Caminiti and who was the other one? Was it was it Noble Meyer? Or am I thinking the wrong class? I think it was was it no?
I think Meyer was the year before.
Okay, yeah, you're right. That was the year before. It was, but it's like I had Sloan over Caminiti, and there's one other prep arm in that class, and I feel like I'm whiffing.
Cash, I think Cash Mayfield went ahead of him.
Yes, Mayfield, yes. And it's like you like Sloan over like Mayfield and Caminiti. I'm like, yeah, I think he's significantly better than either of these guys, and I think that's for me. It's like that's how I like to evaluate kind of those FYPD guys. Is like, okay, like how much are they getting paid? That for me is a lot more significant of how a team values them than, where they're being drafted.
He's got a new pitch this year too. So this spring he started throwing a sinker. So, which apparently is like, I haven't seen it yet. I saw like a video on it, but I haven't seen it in game action. I think that was on the backfields. But apparently it's pretty dirty. So he's also got a fifth pitch now adding to the repertoire. So one more reason to love some Ryan Sloan. I'm gonna throw some video up on here. You got any more you want to talk about on Sloan so that we can watch some video?
No, let's get into the video.
All right, boom. Let's get some video here of Ryan Sloan, who you said you would have probably top 5. So I thought
borderline. Yeah. That's just. I think it's like you get through 5 clearly, and it's like okay, 5 you can argue are clearly better, and then after that you get into a few of those more borderline guys. Like I know you love Robbie Snelling. I like Robbie Snelling. I think it's not like so set in stone that he's like, I could probably make an argument for Sloan over him. I think you get into a few of those maybe guys you see in the 20 to 30 range, like pitching wise, and it's like, Snelling, trying to think of a few others. Who else do we have in that range? I mean, I'm a low guy on Jonah Tong, but I think Ryan Sloan is significantly better than him. And I've seen people push like Jonah Tong to like top 15, and I'm like, what?
I mean, there's a big argument for over Tolley because
I agree.
That's way more refined arsenal. So it's like,
I agree. That's another one I was going to put out there. Is like people have always hated where I've ranked Peyton Tolley. He will probably like barely be inside my top 50, and I'm going to have guys like Ryan Sloan 20 spots higher. I'm going to have Kendrick Chorio higher.
All right, so we're gonna throw up now the next 5, and we have in this ranking here, we have Number 10, Andrew Painter, who is now number 9 for me. Number 9, Bubba Chandler, who's number 8. Jonah Tong, I pushed down. He was formerly number 8 after not really developing after this. You know, like he was supposed to have a new pitch coming into the offseason that was going to have, you know, a little bit of east-west to it, and didn't really show it, and, you know, kind of struggled in the spring. So a little disappointing for Tong. Peyton Tolley, number 7. Cade Anderson, number 6. And your guy in this tier is Bubba Chandler. So why don't you go ahead and let it rip on Bubba Chandler?
Yeah, I mean, I think Bubba Chandler is kind of a great case of just like how much of a drug prospect fatigue can be. Like, this is a guy that people are clamoring to make the opening day roster in 2025, and then the commands kind of worsens a little bit. We see kind of a stretch of inconsistency from him in AAA, and now it's like everyone is just like it. I wouldn't say soured on him completely, but it's like I see people that are like, you know, he went from like, okay, this guy could be like a, you know, number 1, maybe kind of number 2, floor of a number 3. And it's like now you have guys that are like, I don't know, it just feels like the narrative shifted very quickly on that. And those are kind of when I like to buy into prospects, is when I feel like not, you know, it's general stuff in the development track rather than, you know, tools worsening or kind of, you know, red flags and profiles getting exploited. I think his fastball is still a 70 grade for me. It's just a really, really good pitch. But I think when you have a guy who has the velo that he does, well, with also kind of a quality off speed and secondary, good feel for spin, I think even if the command does kind of falter a little bit, like we saw that in AAA preceding his call up last year, where the walks per 9 jumped to 4.7. But then I think when we did see him kind of in that brief 30 inning sample in the majors, you know, the surface stats might not look too great. That came with a kind of 2.6 FIP. I think Bubba Chandler, I'm not sure that I thought at one point that he could be an ace. I'm not sure I see that anymore. I think that a third pitch will need to take some bigger steps forward for that, as well as, you know, we'll need to see the command get back. But I think Bubba Chandler could be a big breakout arm this year, even if like he's kind of more of a, you know, fastball changeup guy, and the secondaries kind of aren't quite at that level yet. But I really like Bubba Chandler. I think it's interesting, just interesting case study in how quickly a guy can go from an, you know, elite kind of surefire top 10 prospect to, you know, people sour on very quickly when there's like a very small sample size of, you know, not great surface stats performance, but not really a ton has changed in the profile itself.
Yeah, he's been a bit of a roller coaster, and I contribute some of that to like mental. Like, it has to be, because he was so good at the beginning of last year. He didn't get the call. Probably thought he deserved the call, and as soon as he gets to the majors, like his major league, I mean, it's small sample size, and he's pitching out of the pen out of the pen out of some of it, but 31 innings, a 3.2% walk rate in the majors versus in the minors, he had a 10.2% walk rate. So pretty interesting to see the walk rate. It's, you know, the difference in the walk rate so much. Mike
Chase and Whiff were really good too.
Yeah, they were. I mean, he was amazing in the majors. Changeup was a little off. The changeup he was pretty wild on, but the fastball slider curve, he was actually getting in there, like especially the fastball slider combo. But the comp I threw on him like years ago was Luis Heel with a Zach Wheeler slider. Is the comp that I threw on him, and I'm just like, there's a little bit of that with the command, right? Like the command coming and going. That's what's going to make or break him. That's going to be the difference between him being a number 2 starter and being a number 4. That's going to be the difference between him being like Paul Skeens' goose and being like the wingman versus him like falling in and being like Joe Boyle, right? Like, can he be Robbie Ray or can he be Joe Boyle? Is basically like the difference in the lines that you could be looking at. But like, yeah, I put a 70 grade still on the fastball. Slider, I give him a 50 out of 60. It just all depends on consistency of locations in my mind on how effective the slider is going to be, because he throws it up to 90 miles an hour. So he throws it hard. Like, it's got good break on it. So it's just like how effective and like how consistent is going to be on commanding that thing is really what's going to make or break it. And the changeup, he just did not command at the major league level. It's a great changeup. In the minors, is super effective. I give him a 55 out of 65 on that change, but like, he's got to locate that thing. In the majors, he was not locating that. So like command wise, like I gave him a 40 out of 50 on the command, because I'm like, he has good command sometimes, and then other times he doesn't. And how much of that is mental versus feel, we don't know. Like, we don't know if that's just him, that's him losing touch, or if that's him just like not mentally being present, right?
Yeah,
That's like where it's at.
I see where your argument is coming from. I do think a 40 on the command though is a little harsh, especially when you look at 24, where he had just over 3 walks per nine between AA and AAA. He pitched almost 120 innings that year. I think if anything, yeah, I think you could say he's like kind of a 50 commands, not quite a 55, kind of closer to average than plus. But I do think that a lot of the knocks in his commands are, especially when you look at his track record, like we really haven't seen him be a kind of extremely fringe at best command guy since his debut season in the complex in Single A in 2022.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just
Whereas like Heel had those problems consistently. Like Heel was the command issues were always there. When he got to the majors, he was walking over 13% of batters. I just don't see Chandler's ever being that guy.
Heel's more like a 30 command than a 40.
That's fair. I just think with Chandler, it's like I don't think you see a guy who's going to consistently like keep the walk rate at 3% around that. But I think you could be looking at a guy who's not going to walk much more than 8% of guys, which like with his stuff is fine.
Yeah, that's why I put 40 out of 50, because I'm like, okay, like we just don't know. Like we need a larger sample size of him in the majors and him like having his head right to find out if it's like a mental thing versus a feel thing, right? I mean, like that's just kind of like where I'm at on it, because we don't have enough. 31 innings is not enough of a sample size, especially when you're coming out of the pen. Sometimes I think he had like 2 starts or 3 starts or something like that. So it's just a weird sample size to try to draw from. And like his minor league season was just so weird last year, because it's like the dude obviously deserved to call up like way before he got it. So they're playing money games, and that's not fun. Like if you're that guy and you're like, I am way better than a lot of the pitchers on the major league staff. Like, I mean, like, yeah, you got to let your ego chill. But he's not old enough to like be there. Right. Like, yeah, you're young. Like everyone, when you're 21, 22, 23, like your ego is like out of the world. Like, I mean, like I was, so like, I get it, Okay, next guy that we're going to talk about here is Kate Anderson. So Kate Anderson, I've got at number 6. We obviously don't have any major league data on him, so I'm not going to bother trying to pull up statistics, except this spring, 7 innings, 20% K minus walk, 30% K rate, 10% walk rate. Throw at 93 is his average velocity on the fastball. But like it's 3 games, 7 innings, very small sample size. There's really not much to draw from that data, I would say, except for the fact that, hey, he's getting some strikeouts. So that's pretty good. 30% K rate so far in spring against probably some major league hitters, probably some minor league hitters. I'm not exactly sure who'll be facing that sample. But Kate Anderson, this dude is number 27 in my rankings. I know a lot of people are kind of down on him. They're like, he's like a number 2 or number 3 or whatever. But I feel like he's like, look, this is what he's got going for him. He's a lefty. He's got good command. He has 4+ pitches. None of them are elite. That's true. Like he has no potential 65 or 70 grade pitch. To me, they're all just like plus. Like I threw a 60 on his fastball, 55 out of 60 on the slider, 55 out of 60 on the curve, and a 50 out of 60 on the changeup. So he's got like potential plus stuff. Like the command is good. It's not great. He's just a very, very good starter. And like my comp from is Max Fried. I just think that's how he could be. He's not going to light the world up with strikeouts, but he's going to develop in Seattle, which is an amazing place. We just talked about Ryan Sloan, how good the Mariners are at developing pitchers. He's going to have a really great ballpark behind him to help him. He's basically got everything on his side to help him develop into like one of the better number 2 starters in baseball. And I feel like he has just such a high floor that like that's really good. Like it's really nice to have that high of a floor, and the Mariners might need him. Like Bryce Miller has been hurt. Emerson Hancock's not good. Logan Evans is not good. Like he could get the call up in like June or July. It wouldn't surprise me if he's called up and spends the whole second half. Like the Mariners are in it to win it. They just traded for Donovan. Like it wouldn't surprise me to see him get half a season of MLB time this year.
I agree. I think it's like I don't know that he's like college arm at the level that like Skeens was when he came out of the class in terms of how quickly he moved. It's also worth noting that Skeens did like make a pro debut the year he was drafted, whereas Anderson didn't. But I think like a July, August is very realistic. You could see a guy who, if they're feeling comfortable with where his innings are at, and not really wanting to go into kind of the postseason picture, banking on guys as you mentioned, like an Emerson Hancock. Then yeah, I really could see that. I think I like the Fried comp that you threw out too. I'm not huge on Max Fried for fantasy, but I do think like that type of pitcher gets underrated for real life. And that like Max Fried is a guy who, he's I mean, the last 2-3 years at least, he's been very durable. He can be that consistent guy that can step in and give you the performance of a number one, maybe not always though appreciated as a number one. Um, but I think Anderson more like I think realistically, like he is more of a big league number two, but I do think he's a guy that is going to be kind of underrated in a lot of ways. It like kind of how Fried is, where it's like maybe his strikeouts aren't elite. Like Fried is a guy who's been under a strikeout per inning for the past couple of years now, but he's just a damn good big league pitcher that knows how to knows how to get outs.
Yeah, agreed. And if you're watching on YouTube or X Vision, you can see some of these strikeouts. He's kind of got like the Freed build too. Like coming in, like they look pretty similar throwing in my mind. Maybe he's
That's kind of that's kind of I was gonna say the delivery too reminds me a lot of Freed. It looks a little bit quicker, but I think the movement is extremely similar.
Yeah, and if you had Max Fried in Seattle, like okay, that's a pretty big win there. So I mean, like I said, he just got everything on his side. Any pitcher that the Mariners take, I'm going to be interested in at this point in time. So I mean, like that's just how it's going to be. They've done a very good job with their pitchers. It's a great ballpark for pitchers. So like any
Except
Mariners
Emerson,
pitcher should get boost.
except Emerson Hancock, he sucks.
Yes, I know. Yeah, he does. And when he was drafted, I was actually like, oh yeah, Mariners, nice. I was
No,
like,
I
I like
remember.
him more than I think he was drafted the same time. The Royals picked what's his face, Asa
A
Lacy, Asa
also
Lacy.
also Lacey, yeah,
Yeah, and I was just
yeah.
like, I did not like Lacy, and that was a
No, and
bad
I
draft.
I remember too when Hancock was like in his junior year, maybe his sophomore year, but he was talked about as potential 1-1. Like he was viewed as that good of a prospect before he was drafted.
Yes. Uh,
But I mean, when you're 1-1 from that class of Spencer Torkelson, who's like a fine player, but I think that about sums up the state of the class.
yeah. Going back, that was not a good draft. So getting into the
No.
top five here. Got number 5 is Robbie Snelling. Number 4, Trey Savage. Number 3, Thomas White. Number 2, Nolan McLean. And number 1, Chase Burns. The guy that I want to talk about is Robbie Snelling. I am a Robbie Snelling truther. I have been for a long time. I've loved Robbie Snelling. You can go back through 2 years of my podcasts. When Robbie Snelling was crapping the bed, I had Blessing on my podcast. He's like, you still have Robbie Snelling in your top 100? He's like, that's crazy. And I was like, yeah, man, I think he's going to figure it out. He's just hitting some road bumps. Like you could go back and listen to that if you don't believe me. That was like 2 years ago. I had Blessing on my podcast and he was giving me crap for having Snelling in the top 100. So and that was back when he was still in the Padres. So there you go. Sorry for throwing shade, Blessing, but yeah, I was right about Snelling, bro. Number 5 here, though. You're going to love this. I've had this comp on Robbie Snelling since when he was on the Padres and he first debuted back in like low A. Jesus Luzardo Light is the comp that I have on Robbie
I
Snelling.
love that. I love that comp. I actually did. Fun fact: I actually did see a good bit of Robbie Snelling for the better part of 2 seasons. I used to work for the San Antonio Missions, the Padres Double-A affiliate. So I saw a good bit of him before he was traded to the Marlins. And like, I just remember thinking, even when he was pitching really badly, it's like, I like this pitcher. Like even before like the velo jump, just kind of like big body pitcher with a couple like quality pitches to complement the fastball. Like I just liked what I saw from Robbie Snelling. And then when the velo took a tick up when he was traded to Miami, I'm like, okay, we're right back to the Robbie Snelling that a lot of people thought we'd get after 2023. It's like a potential, high end number 2 arm again. And I think it's, I love those development stories where those guys just get kind of faced with adversity, where it's like, to have a season like Snelling's and how he did in 2024. It's just to then kind of bounce back and vault yourself right back up into that kind of elite pitching prospect conversation. Like those are the fun stories and the easy guys to root for.
Yeah, and he's having a very solid spring too. I was kind of expecting him to debut. I guess we'll see. Like they brought in freaking Chris Paddock to take his spot on the rotation, and Paddock's actually having a good spring. Like they're
Yeah.
paying him for a reason. I guess like they're just probably trying to buy an extra year out of Snelling. So maybe we see Snelling after Super 2 passes in like 8 April would be my guess, because it's the Marlins. Like they're not they're not trying to win anything right now. Like they're, whatever. So probably we'll see in late April. But
And I think what we have to look at too is like, ultimately, as much as we want those young, exciting prospects to make the opening day roster, it's a business. A lot of these teams, especially when they're not contending, the Marlins, Pirates, they have every incentive to wait until after the Super 2 deadline, not let their guys accumulate a year of service time and then preserve that when beyond and keep the extra year of team control, which is what they're going to do, in my opinion, with Snelling. Thomas White, same thing. Like the earliest you will see either of those guys, in my opinion, is May or June. Earliest.
Yeah, I'm not sure you see Thomas White until September.
Probably.
To be honest with you.
Probably. I like Thomas White a lot. I'll probably have him ranked higher than Snelling, but I do think he is farther away in the sense of like Snelling is realistically between them the only one that should be in the conversation of are they ready to make the opening day roster.
Yeah, it's funny. Snelling is still only 21, but he's a year older than White, and he's been at AAA longer. Like he spent most of the season at AAA. So like my guess would be Snelling is up in late April. Thomas White is up in like August, September. They're going to try to reserve the 50 innings so that I think that what they're going to go for. They see the rookie market this year, and they're like, okay, there's Sal Stewart, there's JJ Weatherholt. You might have Connor Griffin. Like we're probably not going to win this Rookie of the Year thing, so let's just hold Snelling back, get the extra year. And then we'll get the extra year on Snelling, and then we can go for Rookie of the Year in 2027 with Thomas White is probably like what they were going to go for. At least that's how I read it. I mean, like that's probably what I would do honestly if I was what's his face? Can't remember his name right now.
Bendix.
GM. Yeah, Peter Bendix. I met him too. So yeah, Snelling. I got a 65 out of 70 on his fastball. I love his fastball. His curve, I threw, which is kind of like a sweeper curve. I don't know what you want to call it, but I threw a 60 out of 65 on that pitch. Change up a 50 out of 60, slider 40 out of 45. Command he has good command. You see the 116 fScore on the command, 109 fStuff, 108 fERA. Like all around, he's a really good pitcher. He's going to be in Miami, so that's a really good ballpark for him too. Pitching at sea level for half of his games. Yeah, he's going to be in the NL East, but he did already get out 1, 2, 3 Lindor, Soto, and Bichette. And that was like his spring debut. He got those guys out 1, 2, 3. So he's shown that he can do that. So Snelling, I am very high on. What do you have additionally on Snelling here? Like I'm like you can see by the way his pitch level data if you're watching on the fScore on the Xvision or YouTube. So we've got his pitch level data up there. Fastball, 19.3% swinging strike rate on a fastball. Absolutely ridiculous. Like you never see that on a fastball.
Yeah, I mean, not a ton to add. I just love the chase rates on the fastball too. A lot of these pitcher fastballs, you see just so much pressure to kind of be able to like land them, do a lot of their damage in the zone. Whereas his, like, it's just movement and shape wise, it excels at kind of getting batters to chase out of the zone, which I really like in a fastball. I'm not sure there's a Chase Burns level pitch there, but I think the fastball and curveball are both plus for me. I think the slider changeup both above average with maybe one of those two ends up plus, especially in Miami. I think they've just been so good at just pumping out quality MLB arms. And yeah, I hope we see more Snelling this year in the majors than we do AAA. I don't think that's a lot to ask for, but would love to. I think he's a guy that can realistically step into this big league rotation, if not opening day by May, June, and make a run at a serious Rookie of the Year caliber campaign.
Yeah, for sure. And then the guy that you want to talk about is one of my favorite pitchers in the major leagues. It's Chase Burns. I wish I actually had more shares. I have a few shares of him. I think I'm in 10 leagues. 9 of them, every league I'm in is dynasty or keeper except for TGFBI this year. And I did not even get him. Like I thought for sure I was going to get Chase Burns in TGFBI, and then someone jacked him in front of me, so I had to settle for my boy Emmett Sheehan. So Chase Burns over Emmett Sheehan still, Owen. I'm still Chase Burns over Emmett Sheehan. So
okay.
Chase Burns.
There's some reasoning left in you.
Yes, there. Well, you know how much I love Emmett, so I just have to throw it out there that I like Chase Burns more than him. So you know how much I like Chase Burns.
I'm gonna recreate that that meme that John put out where it's like you with Connor Griffin and then your kids. I'm gonna be like you with Emmett Sheehan and
yes, do it. All right, so
I
Chase
will do
Burns,
it.
I threw up his minor league fScores: 127 fStuff, 133 fControl, 119 fERA. Just absolutely ridiculous. We just looked through the fScores of some of the best pitchers in minor league baseball, and this guy's just blowing them all out of the water across the board. A 31.4 K minus walk rate last year, 18.4% swing strike rate. His slider, Owen, 30% swing strike rate on that slider. That's only over 60 pitches, so again, limited data, but that's insane. Look at his JAERA against righties, 0.04. Like what? Like righties just have no chance against Chase Burns in the minor leagues. That's his minor league stuff. His major league stuff is still really good too. His major league, I'm not going to pull it up, but 113 total grade on the fScore for majors, 127 stuff. So he had a 127 stuff in the minors and a 127 stuff in the majors. 104 control. So his control got worse, majors to minors, but his stuff stayed the same. fERA 118. So his fERA barely also changed despite him pitching in Great American Small Park. Chase Burns, for me, Owen, 70 grade fastball, 80 grade slider, 45 out of 50 on the changeup, 40 on the curve. Command is 50 out of 55. That's what I've got on him. 2 elite pitches here for 2 plus pitches, and then a triple plus, 80 grade on the freaking slider. So Chase Burns, I have him as like a top 15 starting pitcher. Why shouldn't someone like to me, it's crazy to not like people who don't have him as like a top 15 starter right now for redraft. To me, that's crazy. Like he's so good. Like, why are people not like why are people sleeping on Chase Burns? Because I feel like that's what's happening.
I think the only thing realistically that would keep him probably closer to borderline for me than surefire top 15 for redraft is just the innings. Like, are you getting 100? Are you getting 160 innings from him this year? Maybe. I feel like the lack of clarity around the innings is a big one. Like ultimately, when you're looking, especially redraft, it's a lot more oriented on okay, who are the proven guys who are going to be either one healthy the full year or two like kind of unrestricted the full year. That you put a big. I was actually able to do this a few times, like back when Garrett Crochet was getting stretched out as the starter. It's like there were teams that in my dynasty leagues that were dropping him because he wasn't giving them anything and kind of, anything beyond like late July. Could you see kind of a similar track with Chase Burns? I think it's not an apples to apples comparison, but I do think there is. I think Emmett Sheehan, you could also throw into the same conversation as like realistically, like what is the inning ceiling for these guys? Like, I think I would be surprised if between Trey Savage, Emmett Sheehan, and Chase Burns, you see any of those guys significantly cross 150 innings, if at all. And I think when you look at like that innings threshold, it's like there's just so many guys that, in my opinion, that, are easily going to smash that are kind of proven commodities that have shown that they can do it. Like, as much as, I love the potential of like kind of, Chase Burns and Emmett Sheehan, I do think it's one thing that I've really focused on a lot is like I want guys that are going to give me innings and that are going to be making startable worthy starts, especially in the crunch time of fantasy when you get to those fantasy baseball playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, I get that, but part of the way that I like to draft for redraft is like you don't know what pitchers are going to stay healthy. So like trying to guess innings, like
that's very fair.
Like you can use the projections a little bit. Like there's going to be a standard. Like okay, if all these guys stay healthy, this guy's going to pitch more innings. Yes, but there's still like a 20 to 30% chance that every single starting pitcher is going to get hurt. So that dings that ability a little bit to me. So I'm like less likely to draft guys based on durability, and I'm way more likely to just draft guys based on stuff and skill and like how good like how many strikeouts they're going to get. That's just how I draft. Like I want guys who are going to strike dudes out. You know what I mean? Like that's how I'm going to play it. And then I'm going to hope for the best because you can't predict injury. Like it's just like it's such a crapshoot.
I agree, and I'm kind of a similar way to an extent. Like I definitely will. I would much rather kind of target ratios pitchers early, and I don't really care for the kind of the contact inducing guys that I think having like one or two whip stabilizers is important. That's just not something I'm going to put a huge emphasis on early on. Maybe like get one guy that can give you that, like maybe a like a what's a good one for that? Like a Sanchez or a Webb early. And I'll usually take a stab on one guy that I think I do have some innings questions on, but I just love the upside. But I think ultimately it's like there's a RotoWire tweet that I retweeted earlier that I think was just really good. It is what it sums down to a lot. Is that here? Let me pull it up real quick. High ceilings wins leagues, high floor saves them. You need both. You can have if you have a full rotation of, let's hypothetically, let's say you have a redraft rotation of Chase Burns, Trey Yesavage, Emmett Sheehan, Bubba Chandler, and Yuri Perez. How many of those guys are you able to depend on in September? Realistically,
2, 3.
Yeah, maybe one or two, maybe one, maybe one or two of those guys. I would be surprised if you're getting, anything more than I'm surprised at that point if you're getting
that's a fScores
from a lot of those guys.
That's a fScores. Go get Thomas White, right? That's when you go get Thomas White, or that's when Robbie Snelling doesn't break camp and the owner gets mad and drops him. That's when you pop $1 on Robbie Snelling and hold him if you can afford it.
That's fair. I think it's different in TGFBI and census because you don't and it's I do this in redraft too. It's I am also I don't like to target a lot of non-debuted guys. You never know how these teams are going to use these players. We saw with Bubba last year, if you were, I remember there was a guy that was holding him for a while until May or June. And he kept trying to trade him to me. And I'm the command sucks. Realistically, if I take a shot on this guy, he's trying to get Ben Rice from me. And he was offering Bubba Chandler and some other piece in there that I don't remember. But essentially, I'm I'm not going to do it. Give me Ben Rice. This is a guy who's going to kind of stick in my lineup. The playing time might not be the best, but he's at the majors and performing versus a guy who is not performing in AAA and realistically could be up in August, September. So that's why I just don't especially with pitching prospects. You will never see me with a redraft team that has a kind of non-debut pitching prospect on it. Won't happen.
Yeah, I agree with that. I did an off-season trade where I traded and this is in an odd new league where it's a salary, a $38 Logan Gilbert, who I could not afford because I was over budget, for a $10 Trey Savage and a $4 Bubba Chandler. What do you think about that trade?
So you said $10 Trey Savage, $4 Bubba Chandler?
Yes, for a $38 Logan Gilbert.
I think that's a really good deal. I don't play in any no leagues. I do play. I'm in that that Wubba Dynasty Cap one, and I have I almost feel now I have too many good pitchers, but not enough. I feel my team is just going to be very okay. I love my pitching, but I just don't There's just I have so many questions with my bats, but have a little bit of money to work with, so maybe get hit on a couple fab guys and hope that can turn some things around.
Pitchers are expensive in that league, man. It's 30 teams, so pitchers are so expensive. There's a fight over Merrill Kelly.
Yeah, no, I'm feeling actually a lot better about trading Bricanio and my 28 first now for Logan Webb, especially because he's he's gonna be under 30 million for me for the next 3 years. So get some good years out of him. And then even Mackenzie Gore now, it's I gave up a lot to get him, but at the end of the day, I wasn't highly invested into anything that I gave up. Both Adam Zuski and Sirota for me were late round draft picks. And I'm I can probably do this again. And I think having Gore for 3 years too, he's at 16 million right now. I think that could turn out to be really, really good. Now, just someone trade me for Brady Singer or Oviedo or somebody. I have too many arms.
Yeah, take a depth arm. That's all I have. That's all I have is depth arms. I'm just hoping to be middle of the pack this year and trade some of my guys off for more prospects.
You know what? Let's do some good. Let's end it on. I want to continue talking with you about either Sal Frelick or Jarren Duran. Let's work something out on the pod. You need some arms. I need some bats. Let's make this a win-win deal for both of us.
All right. Let's do it. All right.
Let's make sure. Yeah. See, this is good content right here. Let's do. I don't want to keep you too long, and I also do have some homework to do, admittedly. So let's say 10 minutes. We'll see if we'll do some live negotiations. We'll see if we can come to an agreement here.
All right. I am open to trading both, but at this point in time, I definitely am probably looking for at least a depth outfielder back too, because we already did free agency at this point.
Okay, that's totally fair. I want to keep money close, and so I can probably give you a death outfielder back.
I've got 8 million open, so I can take on some money if you need to shed some money. I got 8 million open.
Okay, so what arms are we talking about for? I do want to move like Edward Cabrera. Edward Cabrera is one that I would probably be more open to moving. Probably don't want to move. Probably don't want to move Weber Gore, although I guess I could entertain it. Let's see. And then River Ryan is one that I would move. 2 years, 3.8 million. Let's see. And then I would move. I'd move Melton too. Although probably missed my window on that a little bit, but willing to take a little bit of a loss on that.
Okay, so yeah, what are you thinking? Because Gore, I would definitely be open to. Webb, I don't think it's really going to hit my competitive window. I think I do like cheaper, but Gore, I
do like Gore a good bit. And I think he helps me now a bit more. And going forward, let me see. So you said if I'm interested in like Frelick, I also don't particularly want to move like an arm like Webb or Gore. Let me see though. Pull up your Brewers, right?
Yeah, I'm the Brewers.
Okay.
So yeah, so I'm definitely Gores would be my main guy. Don't really buy Oviedo. Singer is not really something I'm interested in for where my team is at. And then I do kind of like River Ryan a little bit. I do think he's going to be a reliever this year. And hey, your only depth outfielder is Church, who I traded to you.
Yeah.
I would have kept Church too. I had to trade him because I also had Swanson, who in this league, you can only, if you add guys on free agency, just for context for the listeners, if you add guys in free agency in the middle of the year, you can only keep one. So like I added Swanson and Church, and I can only keep one of those two guys. And I was like, Swanson, I think is going to be the closer for the Cardinals. So closers were super expensive in free agency. They were going for like 25 million. So
yeah, no, I was trying to add saves and ended up with Gabe Spire and Justin Sterner, who I think the latter closes for the A's, but I'm like, I just can't. Like, I'm not doing 20 million for Ryan Helsley and Devin Williams as much as I do like them to bounce back.
I do like Clifford. If you're not interested in trading someone who's going to play this year and you'd rather get rid of a minor leaguer,
I will do Clifford, and I know you said that last time. My part of my issue though, because if I remembered what I offered you last time for Frelick, I offered you Clifford, Fry, Ferris, and Cutter Crawford, which I felt like was a pretty solid offer. What do you need on top of Clifford?
I need a better starter because I don't like Jackson Ferris. I'm just not a Jackson Ferris guy.
Okay. Well, but I mean, if I'm saying like if I'm giving you Clifford and Fry, like better starter though is going to be tough for me without something else coming back.
Oh, see,
like this is a 30 man. The depth is important too, and like I like Frelick, but you know he's in my opinion like a very strict OBP guy who can give you a solid average. He's
gonna get steals too. He's gonna get steals too.
Yeah, maybe.
And he's gonna hit for a high batting average.
Okay, so we'll say like generously a 2 cat, maybe a little bit of a third.
Yes.
Okay.
And I can always, if I'm adding, if I think I'm max. No, actually, I do have room. I was gonna say I think I'm maxed out on prospects, but I think I have 2 spots maybe. And remember, I can take some money too. I don't mind taking some money.
Yeah, so I have 5.5 million left. I wouldn't really want to take on a huge hit from that, so I'd need to move somebody with a salary to take on.
So it depends on what. Yeah, so it depends on what pitchers you're open to moving. Actually,
well, I feel like I ran.
You want to move Cabrera?
I would like to move Cabrera. I would move.
I don't really like Cabrera that much, but I think that might actually be a fairer deal. Would you even consider a Gore and Frelick deal?
No, probably not. Unless it was even the savings wouldn't really entice me that much. Let's see. Although, like, if it was maybe another piece back, I would maybe think about it because I do have Cabrera set at 19 for 3 years and Gore's on a CE3 3 million.
Yeah, he's escalating. He's better though, for sure, than
But
Cabrera.
yeah, that's where I'm at now. It's like I do think I have a shot this year if I can add a couple more solid bats, and obviously I need some stuff to go my way, but I think I can be okay this year, and I think I have some prospects too that can help me out too with some midseason reinforcements.
So, yeah, I'd probably need at least a starter that I can use this year.
Okay.
Otherwise, what we would be looking at is maybe later down the road, if my team takes a crap, then I could trade you Frelick for like Clifford. Who else? Who else would make sense? You're higher on Chorio than me, so that even wouldn't even make sense.
Like Chorio
Maybe,
is probably like my one untouchable prospect. Anybody
yeah.
else I will listen on, but I value Chorio much more than anything that I would probably get in return at this point.
So what I would say is if we can't work something out now, something in the future we could probably do would be like a Moises Chase, Ryan Clifford, and draft picks, something like that.
I'll do that. I'll do that now, depending on the picks.
I don't want to do that right now because
You know
then
what?
I'm just getting prospects and I'm going to make my team way worse. I
Okay.
want to wait.
All
I
right.
want to wait
Okay.
and see how. I
Okay.
want to wait a few weeks in and see how my team performs before I would just give up on the season. So,
Okay.
but I would definitely do that later down the road if the team sucks.
Where's your openness at? I'm curious if I were to do something like Cabrera, Clifford, Chase, and picks. Where would your openness be at to include like one of your MLB relievers with Frelick?
Yeah, I'd probably do that. I
Okay,
mean, like, it
like
depends on it. Like, it depends exactly. It depends on like what starter I'm getting back, but like
well, no, so sorry. With if I were to do like Cabrera on
pick.
top of the prospects and picks that you mentioned.
Depends on what player, but like I'm like for instance, like I love Griffin Jacks, so depends on who you
That's
want.
fair. I was gonna say him or Walker.
I would much rather trade Walker than Jacks.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna send you something right now, and you can like totally blast me on the stream if you hate it. But I'm gonna send it over, and you can tell me what you think, and maybe we can have a deal down.
All right, we'll see. We'll let people know on the next podcast how this works out so that you're not listening forever. Make sure you subscribe to MLB Data Warehouse and also make sure you buy the prospect package because if you haven't drafted yet, that thing can help you. And we probably have like 1.5 weeks left, 10 more days of drafting until the season gets started. So go ahead and buy the prospect package. I'm still planning to go to a couple more spring training games here, and I need you to front my costs. So hit that up, only $29.99. And MLB Data Warehouse, subscribe. Now is the time. fScores are going to be live, so you're going to get live fScore updates throughout the season only if you have that subscription. So make sure you do that, and you'll also get articles in season. I'm going to be writing articles on MLB Data Warehouse every week on the top prospects that week. Yeah, we're going to come back and talk about it on the podcast, but you're going to get a lot more depth in the article than what you're going to get on just the podcast. And I'll probably do like an extra 5 guys in the article, so you're going to be missing out on like every single player on the week. So make sure you check that out. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Peace out, everybody.